There are some really great items in gaming. Some items open the way forward, some we collect for the internet points, and some of them turn us into a god. But you know, everyone seems to forget those items that were nearly useless, but we still found every opportunity to play with anyway. These items will only be one per franchise, and we won't be covering cosmetic items. Those are just for bragging rights anyway. I'm Laz, and these are some of the most useless items we spent hours enjoying anyway. Twilight Princess is one of the darker entries in the Zelda universe. Often compared to Majora's Mask, this game has a ton of things we hadn't seen before. The game is often criticized for having a plethora of items that are used only briefly, before becoming just another shiny thing in our inventory screen. But one item stands out ahead of all of them: the spinner. When you first get the spinner, it's one of those aha moments in Zelda, where the weird things in a dungeon start to make sense. Unfortunately, once you finish the Arbiter's Grounds, there aren't many uses for our little Beyblade. But that didn't stop us from playing with it anyway, trying to go faster down hills, pulling it out to show off to the townsfolk, and just riding it around. The spinner may only have a limited number of uses, but nothing can replace that awesome feeling you get when Link is shredding a massive wall. Super Mario Kart is one of those classics that a 6-year-old me spent way too much time finding new ways of doing things. I still remember to this day the time that I found that 4th place had its own end screen with your character crying. I spent the next couple of weeks trying my best to get 4th just so I could see what happens on that screen for every character. Side note, Bowser crying was just absolutely hilarious to me as a kid. After spending tons of time beating the game to 100% and seeing all the victory screens, I needed something else to do. Items were the natural choice. I used to sit at the very back of the race, keep running over all the item pads so I could destroy the other racers with every single item available to last place. But there were no items more useless to this cause than the feather. The feather has a few very limited uses, like going for a shortcut or try to your best to avoid the red shells that could literally just turn around and kill you anyway, but it had other very cool uses. In Super Mario Kart, lots of tracks have a barrier in the center where the player isn't intended to go normally. But with a feather, we can easily jump those barriers and explore some really cool out-of-bounds areas. I remember jumping into the center of Koopa Beach 2 with a friend and having a sumo match next to the bumper. Or especially in the Battle Mode Course 2. That's a fun time. Or trying to jump into the center of Mario Circuit 1 and just watching all the racers go by like I was in the spectator stands instead of a participant. It may not seem like much in the age of fully explorable dynamic open worlds, but the feather managed to squeeze some extra life out of a great game. Grand Theft Auto. The game where you already have no objective and spend hours doing things like ramping cliffs, killing your friends, or being harassed by that one griefer when all you want to do is sell your cocaine. It's the kind of game that you wouldn't want to tell your mother just how many hours you've wasted playing. It has a plethora of weapons, collectibles, vehicles, and all those things that are enough to warrant a list of their own, if we were to talk about how useful they are. But there is one item, or items, that truly stand out as the most useless among them: Pisswasser beer and Redwood cigarettes. I'm more than aware that they can restore a small amount of health when you're in a pinch, but that's totally not what we use them for. You bought them just so you could stand around with your friends and screw around while you all had a conversation about who's the best Ninja Turtle. It's Mikey, by the way. Fight me. These seemingly useless items can put a giggle out of a tired bunch of friends when used after a long night of stunt races. Pisswasser and Redwoods might be useless items, but I don't think the game would be complete without seeing your friend randomly look like he's on fire from the corner of your eye. Fable. We went blindly into this one, unaware of all the promises that had been made about how great it was supposed to be, and boy did we enjoy the experience. For a little backstory, we first played Fable on the Xbox 360, and it was a truly solid experience throughout. And then we found out about the Lost Chapters. New quests, new weapons, Lady Grey, and a bordello? We were sold faster than a new iPhone on launch day. One of the additions brought by the Lost Chapters was the quest to educate tiny small children of Bowerstone, using books you've collected on your journey. This process can be more entertaining if you've decided to be an evil character and the children randomly flee from you after the teacher gets done reading the book.
Let's all say thank you to the nice hero.
Haha, good times. But no book readings were more entertaining than the dramatic reading of The Sock Method, a book chronicling one individual's masturbatory habits to small, impressionable virtual children. It sort of puts that whole beating a child repeatedly on your balcony because you're evil into perspective.
I think we'll leave that chapter for another day.
Earthbound is one of those games where you either love it or want nothing to do with it. I never owned it when I was a kid, but it definitely tops my list on most rented game of all time. This game has a ton of items that aren't particularly useful. The monkey's love, mummy wraps, that annoying baseball cap you get in Magicant when your inventory's always full and you drop something important but it turns out that it's just a crappy baseball cap. You name it. But there were no items that were more useless than the bicycle after you had more than Ness in your party. I could pick the protractor or the ruler, but those weren't really fun. They just kind of sit there while you try to determine the length of... When I first got the bicycle on a rented copy of Earthbound, I remember spending hours just riding between Onnit and Tucson with it, having a great time and jamming out to that amazing music. Well, until I found that 3 tunnel. Ah, get it away! Ah! The childhood trauma, my dudes. The trauma. I remember going up to random townsfolk and just being like, "Hey baby, you like my awesome bicycle? Okay, cool, hop on, I'll give you a ride." And then I found Paula and I thought, this'll be so awesome, now I can have 2 people on a bicycle. No such luck. Once you get anyone else in your party, the bicycle just becomes another thing to put in Tracy's box. We'll miss you, bicycle friend! Few games have quite the level of difficulty that the first Sonic the Hedgehog brought to the table. No spin dash, long underwater sections, and lava. Oh god, so much lava. This game really knew how to push our buttons, but there were no sections better at pushing them than the minigame to get the Chaos Emeralds. You have to rotate the level enough to break the crystals surrounding the emerald, and if the stage rotates too much, you could find yourself slammed against the outer walls, and then the level is over. No emerald for you. With enough skill and enough patience, you can finally collect all 6 of the emeralds and get a good ending.
What?
No Super Sonic?
No awesome transformation where you can destroy everything in your path?
What?
Nope. Just an ending where you get to see the emeralds come out of Sonic's butt while he ponders the meaning of the universe. Oh, and a pissed off Robotnik jumping on top of the word end. Even though the emeralds turn out to be useless, that still didn't erase our journey we took to claim them, and ultimately save the day in a manner befitting of Sega's Blue Blur. Super Smash Bros. This series has probably spent more hours of my life than all the time I've spent doing anything more productive. Like adulting. Or actually getting laid. There's no way I can possibly adult if you say,
1v1 me, final destination, no items.
It's just one of those things that you gotta do right then and there. But what if I told you there was another way to do that challenge? Final destination only, Mr. Saturn, very high. This is the beginning of a completely pointless and often hilarious fight that results in the deaths of countless Mr. Saturns. Sure, you've got plenty of useful items in Smash Brothers. Remote bombs, baseball bats, light swords, guns, the freaking Smash Ball! But those are for casuals. You're only a pro smasher if the only item you have respect for is Mr. Saturn. And maybe Pokeballs that only give Magikarp or Goldeen. But totally Mr. Saturn. This one mode sucked away countless hours from Oz and I while we struggled to be the best smashers while drowning in an ocean made of literal people. Things. Aliens? Things. Whatever the hell they are. While in reality this might not be the most pro way to play Smash, it's one of the best ways to waste time while you wait for Waluigi to finally be announced as a playable fighter. Animal Crossing, a game where you make real relationships with fictional characters while pretending to live in a town populated by animals. Honestly, if I didn't say the game beforehand, you'd probably be picturing some sort of furry dating simulator. Get your mind out of the gutter. No, seriously, Animal Crossing is a great series, and no other installment quite captures my heart like Animal Crossing for the Nintendo GameCube. There are so many things you can do. You can catch bugs, chop trees, pull weeds, talk to other individuals. Basically, all the things you try to avoid in real life, but in the form of a cute video game. One of our favorite things to do in Animal Crossing was to go down to where the beach meets the ocean and fish up red snappers. It's so satisfying to just keep fishing up everything you can so you can go rip off Tom Nook for all he's worth. I mean, seriously, look at what? Oh, it's another boots! What you're supposed to do is take all these boots to the dump and properly dispose of them. But what about when you fished enough boots to fill the town with boots? That's what you do. Boots might be a completely useless item, but there's something oddly satisfying about trashing your second town on another memory card with a literal mountain of boots. We would have had footage to bring you of our second town trashed with boots, but unfortunately, we had to lay to rest our memory card this year. It's 17 years worth of service. Won't be forgotten. We will miss you, town of El Gato. Trashed with boots and 30,000 bell bags. There aren't many games that have gotten the same amount of shame that Duke Nukem Forever has found itself under. I can't say I blame them though, since some of these people waited 15 years for what is probably the final installment for the Duke. The game really isn't all that bad if you're one of the folks who spent that 15 years doing something more productive, like getting laid for instance, and have an affinity for some good old-fashioned lowbrow humor. Slapping wall tits, making the Olsen twins your bitches, and generally just exploding some aliens with a Devastator. Much like Grand Theft Auto, it would take a whole video to discuss the weapons and miscellaneous items you get that you can use to progress through the game. But we're all here for useless items, right?
Look at my ass. Do it now.
That's why the most useless item that we spent way too much time playing with was the turd you find in a toilet early in the game. Duke might complain and ask what he's doing, but we as the player know exactly what we're doing. Yeah, we could paint the world with the expo markers you find at the whiteboard near there, but it's just much more satisfying to paint the world in shades of brown and peanuts. Few platformers have a feather in their cap quite as shiny as Super Mario 64. Debuting in 1996, and the literal reason I had an enormous gamer boner for the Nintendo 64, this game delivered above and beyond our expectations for the new 3D era. Huge levels, actual voiceover for Mario, and a unique camera system that would become the foundation of future successful 3D platformers. I said successful. Mario 64 had a unique feel and style that captured a generation of gamers and showed us where everything was going. In the game, Mario only has a few items that he can collect, and they're set in the form of caps. You have the wing cap, which gives Mario the temporary ability to fly, the metal cap, which gives Mario the temporary ability to be invulnerable and walk along the bottom of a body of water, and the vanish cap, which makes Mario be able to walk through specific walls and objects. And you can taunt enemies with it by walking through them too. You get the chance to use these hats in really specific situations though, and all three are never located in the same level. You can play the game from start to finish and gather the 70 stars required to complete it without even touching these caps. Despite being useless to finish the game, I still found myself flying across Bob-omb Battlefield, fully exploring the depths of Jolly Roger Bay and Dire Docks with a metal cap, and generally pissing off eyeballs with a vanish cap in Big Boo's Haunt. Hours well spent exploring the dawn of a new gaming era. Before we get to our last item, here are some honorable mentions. You knew this one had to be on the list. Portal. The breakthrough hit that nobody expected when we all grabbed the orange box because our weird friend told us that Half-Life was a great game. Portal was a little gem with a metric ton of personality that subjected the player to emotional trauma while they worked to solve problems. Just like anyone who works in the IT field will tell you about dealing with customers. Throughout your journey through this hellish labyrinth, you come across tools and other items that will help you solve puzzles such as balls, cubes, more balls, the portal gun, and then one little special box. The weighted companion cube you encounter in Chapter 17 really is something special. Calming, happy. You're running a gauntlet through more hell than your last family gathering where Uncle Charlie wanted to talk politics when you find this little cube with a heart on it that plays a subtle melody. It's serene and brings a sense of joy and oh my god, what have I just done? That's right, just when you're getting to know your new little friend and are hearing faint whispers in your head, your little buddy is thrust into a burning inferno. The worst part? It wasn't GLaDOS that did it, it was us, the player. In order to progress to Chapter 18 and presumably finish the game, we were required to incinerate our helpless little friend, much to the delight of our sadistic machine overlord. But that wasn't after a long period of time trying our best to save our cube friend and take it with us for the rest of the game. In the end though, it was all a fruitless endeavor, because if you do manage to get the cube past that locked door, GLaDOS has another emancipation grill to destroy it once and for all. I guess it just wasn't meant to be.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like below. It really does help out the channel. Do you have some favorite items that didn't make this list? Let us know in the comments. And if you'd like to see more from us, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified on new uploads. If you want to see more, find us live on Twitch at It's Laz and Oz starting 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. We'll see you there!